Hello and welcome to Plot Twisters.
This is a podcast where we take movies and twist the plot to see if we can make them better. And if not, more beeping Tommy.
At the moment, we're talking about teen movies from the 80s.
On this episode, Porky's from 1981.
I'm Emma and I'll have you fired for moral turpitude.
I'm Anders and all I need is a watermelon and 2 jelly donuts.
I hate that.
I also,
when I wrote... But I did also think about doing that quote. When I wrote it down, I'll have you fried for moral turpitude, and then I was like, wait, that's not right. That's not it.
That's not it. We're not going to fry you in a giant made-for-humans frying pan to give you perspective on life after you've done a bad thing.
That'd be a very different film. Maybe a better one. Okay, so let's just get into it.
Let's get right into it.
Let's just get right into it.
Let's pork it up. Get ready, pork fans.
Get ready to pork. Ready to
squeal.
Yeah, here it is. Okay, everyone.
Okay.
This is a very explicit film. There's lots of sex in it. Mm-hmm. There's lots of offensive language in it. Mm. There's lots of very bad approaches to consent and nudity and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I'm not talking in a like American Pie kind of way. It's like it's okay, it's bad. All right.
Is it kind of a downer? It's kind of a downer.
It's a downer. It's not fun.
This movie's a
not fun.
Kill.
Yeah, it's bad.
If you were walking along and you're like, I'm feeling the buzz. I'm feeling good about life. I'm super pumped. I want to watch a fun romp movie to continue that feeling of buzz. This movie will kill that buzz.
It's like you go to a party and you're all having a fun time and you're like, oh, why don't we put on a fun movie for us all to watch together to really, make things fun. And then you put on this and like an hour later, everyone is just sitting there quietly, like staring at the floor with their drink and the music is like, really turned down and everyone's just like, oh God. Hey, Kevin, why did you put this on, Kevin? You kind of ruined things. No, trust me, we haven't got to the good part yet. I don't think the good part's coming, Kevin.
Look, you're a nice guy. You're a decent, you're a good dude. You got good taste in music. You're fun to hang out with, Kevin. But your taste in movies is bad.
Sucks. Yeah,
right?
It really sucks.
Stop trying to convince me to watch Porky's again. I don't want to, Kevin.
What I will say in Kevin's defense is that Porky's, you should know from the title.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You should know from the title.
It says it right there on. It's like it is. That thing when people are like, says it's right there on the tin.
Yeah.
Which side note is what everything is. Like
so.
Stuff is what it says on the box usually.
Yeah.
I guess maybe not for movies though. Maybe not for movies. Not for movies.
No.
Yeah,
There's been plenty of movies we've done that are misleading. So a little bit more in terms of if we're talking about it does what it says on the tin. Here's the tin. The poster for this movie, Porky's, it has the title. It has the tagline, which is "You'll be glad you came."
Oh boy, that's a bummer, isn't it? That's my buzz is killed even more. I didn't know that.
It then has another tagline, which is "Keep an eye out for the funniest movie about growing up ever made." Which doesn't say a huge amount about movies that were made before 1982. If this was the funniest one.
I'll keep an eye out for the funniest movie. I'm still keeping an eye out for the funniest movie ever made.
Talking of keeping an eye out, on the poster is the picture of an arm and a leg, what we assume probably to be a female leg, and then a hole with an eye, what we presume to be a man's eye, looking up towards the crotch area of the person that we can assume is stood in front of it in a shower situation. So that's what that's the tin. Okay, so this film, it's set in the 50s. It's set in 1954. It's also set in Florida. It's basically about a group of young men who are at high school, who are very horny.
So horny.
And very concerned with sex.
Doing it.
They want to have sex. And I didn't really catch all of the names. Billy, Tommy, and Mickey.
Yeah.
There was one called Meat, who Meat.
Why do they
who was
call you
very,
that? Why do they call you Meat?
He's very tall and muscly, and other reasons why you might give that nickname. There's also Pee-wee, who's short and a, we hope now, registered sex offender. They all basically, like, they just talk about sex a lot, and then they want to have it.
Yep.
They talk about the people they want to do it with. They go to a bar / club / experience called Porky's. And they think that they're going to be able to have sex for money with the staff at Porky's,
right? With the all Cuban staff. Don't forget, these are Cuban women, and they all work there, and also, I guess if you give old Porky some money, you can just pork it up.
Yeah, and then so they ask Porky, who is a person, who then plays a prank on them, where he tells them to go into a room where some women will be waiting, and then he pulls the lever and they fall through the floor into some water. Yeah, which I kind of like. That's quite funny. That's funny. Yeah. They essentially then want to get revenge on Porky. Throughout the film, there's some stuff about state lines and how as long as you do a crime and then you get over a state line, you're fine, which is a really convenient thing for movies. They eventually like do an act of terrorism on Porky's bar and destroy it completely.
It's insane.
But they get over the state lines, so it's fine. And also they know a cop, and Porky also knows a cop, and then these two cops are like facing off against each other. There's also some B plots, which is like there's Kim Cattrall is a gym coach who is being wooed by another gym coach, and he finds out that her nickname is Lassie, and he wants to know why, and then eventually they do sex in the boys' locker room, and she goes, and the whole school hears, and they're like, oh, that's why she's called Lassie. So it's like one joke that lasts most of the film. Yeah. And then there's some other stuff, like there's another gym coach who finds oh god, I said I was gonna be the one to do the recaps.
Do you want me to tell
No, it's fine. I can do it. Three boys find they find So there's some showers where women shower after sports, right? Yeah. And that shower has a wall. And these three boys find the other side of the wall, and there's holes. So they're able to look through to where these women are showering without them knowing about it. Except when they do find out about it, they all think it's hilarious because, that's how things work, apparently. Yeah.
Just like in Revenge of the Nerds when they found out they were being filmed, and they're all like, this is great, everything's fine, it's hilarious, you boys,
what are they like
with your peeping holes?
And then they go and they're looking through the holes, and then one of them puts their tongue through the hole, and then he puts stands up against the hole and puts
does that
so then a teacher comes in and she sees his
thingy thingy. Are we fine with thingy?
his thingy, which is in the hole. So obviously what she does is she runs towards it and grabs it and tries to pull it through, saying, I've got you, I've got you, I've got you. Which I think there would be some kind of muscular tearing there.
I would say so. Definitely
some
not.
sort of damage caused.
You don't want that.
And then he runs away, and then she spends a lot of the rest of the film trying to identify him based on the parts of his body that she witnessed.
Yeah.
So, did you like it?
I think you really summed it up. That was the movie. That was the movie Porky's. Did I like it? Define the word like. Define the word did. Define the word I. Please don't define the word it. This movie really was difficult to watch. And we've watched some movies in the past that have been difficult to watch because they're art pieces, or I don't get them, I got this movie. It's just tough to watch. It's just super bad to watch because it was so uncomfortable. Can I tell you the things that I liked the least about it?
Mm-hmm.
Or the things that I'm still grappling with to this moment, okay? And then even though the end...
So the bit where the guy put his thingy through a hole.
That was one of them. First scene, opening scene. We get to find out that this guy, Pee-wee, I think it was Pee-wee at the beginning, has a routine every morning where he measures a part of his body with a ruler. That very first scene, I was like, oh yeah, this can be this kind of movie. Didn't like that.
He literally, the first shot of the film is a guy waking up in bed, and then the camera pulls back and you see he's lying on his back and
I believe they call that pitching a tent.
Morning wood.
Exactly. The thing I didn't like about this movie the most, and look, I don't want to say this out front, I am not necessarily advocating for Porky's business, okay? Because I think he had some shady dealings in there. But having said that, like, entertainment clubs is a bar, there's people dancing. If that's your thing, I'm not like, that's go. You do you, Porky. I don't like your business practices, but you run a business, and I respect that. I really didn't like the end when the kids literally destroyed his business.
Yep.
With
and they set off bombs that could have killed people.
They destroyed a whole building because they weren't allowed to have sex for money.
Yep.
Yeah. And it really
and also like yes, they were initially let into the building, but that wasn't Porky's fault. Like, he wasn't the one who let them in. Nope. It was a guard, security person, whatever, right? Yeah. And so when they then went up and asked him, like, obviously he should have just said, "You need to leave. You're obviously underage," and then escorted them out of the building. But like, yeah, I don't think he was that in the wrong. Like, yes, he kind of it was a joke and he put them in the water and stuff. But I'm not so furious with him that I think that they were justified in completely destroying the building and potentially like endangering all of the people inside lives.
Exactly, all the staff, all the cleaning crew, all the patrons. Here's the thing, right? We don't even know for sure if Porky's is an establishment that provides sex for money, right?
Yeah.
I think that was probably, I mean, from what I gather, that's a rumor. This is a legitimate business. These kids heard that they could go and, give money in exchange for the oldest business. To Porky, the owner of the business, right? And actually, these kids rock up and go, "We want to buy some sex," and he goes, "Well, that's not what I do here." So he took their money and played a trick on them.
Mm. Also, he was like, so the gym coach says, "Oh, he was also bad to me." He said, "I'm 23 and Porky did this to me 6 years ago," which means he was 16. No, 17. I can do maths.
17 and 16 are the same. They're both not 18.
And then it's like, do you know what? He's probably fed up of kids coming into his bar where adults are just trying to enjoy themselves.
They're just trying to drink some beers, listen to a really cool sounding bluegrass country band, and watch entertainers dancing with clothes on, actually, come to think of it.
Yeah.
So it's a reputable... I think I'm pro Porky in this, actually, in a way.
You know, I've definitely felt that. Apart from one thing.
The one thing, right?
What's the flag called again where it's the bad
he had a
American
Confederate flag up in I noticed that.
Yeah.
No, I'm glad
he
you
also had a
mentioned that.
Confederate bag pin.
Yeah. Well...
So apart from that...
Yeah, but... Okay, but... And
we're pro Porky.
I am pro Porky as well. And in fact, I really hope that Porky was able to rebuild. In fact, I'm just remembering that there's actually a sequel to this movie. It's called Porky's 2, so I'm pretty sure he rebuilds the bar, and I don't ever want to watch it. But you know what? This is America, all right? You have the right to... it's a capitalist society, right? He's a small business owner. He's just trying to get by, right? Providing a couple of different services, not sex, as far as we know. And these kids are terrorizing him. But he was a Confederate, but it was the 50s, and it was Florida, and it was the Everglades, and so he was a racist. He was racist. Porky's a racist, and I don't support that.
No.
At all.
No.
Hey, speaking of which, this movie was pretty darn racist too, huh?
It was bad.
It was super bad.
It was real bad.
It was like unnecessarily bad.
A lot of words which were very upsetting to hear.
Oh, yeah.
Pitched in a comedy setting in it.
It didn't make sense to me that, like, okay, so were they trying to reference the fact that they're in Florida in the 50s, and so people were using some bad words and were racist, but like didn't need to be involved in a film about a bunch of boys trying to get to Porky's.
I don't know that we can ever really know what the intention was there. It was either that. It was either that they were just going, look, this is what the time was like. And there was an element to which this culture of these boys was being slightly shamed and mocked. I didn't get that, but it could have been the intention.
Yeah.
It could have been that the 50s setting is a bit of an excuse to get away with things which seem more shocking, because you have got that excuse of, well, it's likely that these people would have said it at the time.
Yeah.
So it could have been that. It could have been that this film was just made by bad people who didn't even really think about it and they just thought it was funny.
Yeah.
Which I kind of feel like is the most likely, to be honest with you, because of the rest of the film.
I just was thinking, I just wanted to Google it. And I don't ever, sometimes my Google history is pretty straightforward, sometimes I Google some recipes for some food. I mostly Google where I can buy cool craft beer. Occasionally I Google how things are made, because I like watching videos like this one we watched today about how potato chips are made. Totally wild.
Nice.
But I have just Googled a lot of stuff about Jim Crow laws and, racism in America. From what I can glean, Florida had some of the baddest stuff, and also desegregation didn't come into effect until the 1960s. So were they trying to make a historical piece where it would be weird if they didn't use the N-word? Was that what they were doing?
No, maybe
that can't.
no.
But that can't be what they were doing.
No, it's shock humor. It's meant to be shock humor. In the same way that we've seen other films that were made much later than this film, which was somewhat early, comparatively. But yeah, we've seen later films where offensive language is used, and the whole reason it's there is because they can get away with it and because it's meant to shock. And I think I went and read a lot of the kind of public written reviews, not by reviewers, not by film critics, just by general people. And there's a lot of stuff in there that we've seen again and again and again with films that are focused on being shocking, which is kind of like, it's that attitude of, oh, it's bad, but we all want to laugh, really, and get over yourselves, PC snowflakes, and you can't help but find this entertaining, because if you don't find it entertaining, you're just resisting the urge because you're trying to be supercilious and you're trying to be superior.
Right.
And to all those people, I want to say, I'm not resisting an urge. I'm not trying to not give in to something. I'm not deliberately choosing to follow an urge to enjoy this. I just don't have that urge. I don't have that desire. It gives me no pleasure. I gain nothing from laughing at something like, the copious racism in this film, because it makes me feel bad. It makes me feel uncomfortable. I disagree with it. I think it's wrong. I think it's harmful. I think it's harmful still to make fun of stuff like that. And that's just who I am. And it's like so many people, I think, feel like they're being forced into being politically correct when they don't actually deep down really want to be. And they have this kind of guilt, this like secret guilty pleasure of laughing at stuff which is offensive. I just don't have it. It's not there. Sorry.
Hey, and you know what's interesting? You and I both did the same thing, it sounds like. We both looked at the reviews of this movie, and I really was expecting to see... I filtered it by date, and I was expecting to see old reviews that were very positive and new reviews that were calling out this movie for what it is. And what I saw was the same reviews from the 90s in the last couple of years. Everyone's saying, it's my guilty pleasure movie, right?
But who's going to be
funny?
Who's gonna watch this now that isn't already
us? You and me. And others. I don't know. I'm sure somebody's gonna stumble upon this and think, "Ooh, it might be funny," and then realize it isn't. Why is nobody brave enough to go onto IMDb and say, "You know that if you think this is a guilty pleasure, you're guilty and probably of actual crimes. You should go to prison because you're guilty of being the worst.
You belong in jail.
Oh, it's so funny. It's not funny. You can't. And these people have gone out of their way to be like, what am I going to, honey, what are you doing today? You going to mow the lawn? I will in a second, but first I need to review Porky's on IMDb, a movie that came out 42 years ago.
And then I'm going to review Turning Red and talk about how it wasn't for me. Exactly. I just feel like there's other stuff to laugh at. Like, it's other stuff to laugh at. I don't know. I would love to have, I say I would love. Yeah. I would be interested to have a genuine conversation with respect and good boundaries and no aggression with somebody who genuinely watched this film and found it really funny and be like, please explain to me what the elements are that make this funny to you.
Well,
I just don't get it.
Let me just read you this quick review. Maybe you should have a conversation with Thomas Bloodhound, who said, this movie is quite funny. Just sit back and watch a group of pals playing tricks on each other and sticking together when things turn serious. Watching it today brings back memories of some of the stupid things me and my high school friends did in the late 80s and 90s. We all tried to get into strip clubs before we were 18. We didn't see any trouble with breaking the law as long as nobody got hurt. We all were out to have as much sex as we possibly could. That is what growing up is all about.
Growing up is all about having as much sex as you can.
And breaking laws as long as you don't get hurt, I guess.
So what that leads us to conclude is that the reason people enjoy this film is because they see themselves reflected in it, which I feel is somehow worse.
It is so much worse.
If this was what people were like.
Look, I'm gonna be, like we're all different, we're all unique, we've all had a different path in life. But I will tell you this for free, all right? I personally have never tried to navigate through the corridors of a school locker room so that I can find a hidden pipe hole to peep and solicit sex from. And if you're looking back on your childhood going, that takes me back, you got some thinking to do.
I feel like this is just so unattainable and unrealistic and unachievable for the youth of today because they have so much to worry about.
Fact.
Like you can't be like waltzing around joking about sex and going, oh, ask us why our friend meat is called meat, and ordering giant condoms and putting them over your friend's head because you've got
funny. That was funny though.
Yeah, that was quite funny. I did enjoy that. It made me think about Naked Gun, the bit where they have the giant condoms. It's very funny.
Yeah.
But they can't be thinking about that. They've got the climate change to think about.
Here's my take. This movie came out in the 80s before the internet and before before access to information and naked stuff. I think it was
online naked stuff.
Online naked stuff. I think it was a simpler time, and I think that kids today probably would watch this movie and go, "What is it?" Like everything that this movie brings up would have just been a blip of a thought in a much younger person's mind, and they would have moved on to much more challenging issues.
Yeah.
It's like how they keep changing the SATs and making it harder because kids are getting smarter.
Or like how in the Victorian era, seeing a flash of an ankle was titillating.
Well, you speak for yourself, but ooh,
some nice ankles out there.
Nice pair of Toms and rolled up jeans. I've said too much.
And a Breton top.
What?
I know. I get it.
Is it hot in here?
But yeah, no, so that sort of thing. This is maybe people didn't have anywhere to direct their horniness, so they had to go and.
I guess.
But no, surely not. Surely not. People in the 80s weren't.
Well, I don't know. I mean, remember in Back to the Future, Biff's got that Ooh La La magazine, and that wasn't that hard to get, But
I mean, surely they weren't this. Surely it wasn't very commonplace for people to be running around looking at women's. But I'm saying that, but no, maybe it was. I don't know. I don't want to think about it. I want to stay in 2022. Everyone's PC now.
It's just the things that happened. The reason this movie was upsetting, the big picture is a lot of things happened that are upsetting and didn't seem like anything that people should be doing, and most of them were all sex crimes. Genuine. I've said this before. This keeps happening. We're watching movies and everyone's missing the fact that people are breaking the law. Yeah. And it's the people we're supposed to be rooting for. It's the heroes of the movie.
Right? Can I correct you there?
Yeah.
There was no hero. There was no hero.
I know. Obviously, no.
There was no. But from a screenwriting perspective, there was no main character. There was no hero in this film. Yeah. There was nobody. As you say, they didn't have any redeeming qualities. None of them had a character arc. None of them changed or adapted in any way at all.
You're right. I will say the one person who changed a little bit was that guy who's really racist, but it turns out he's racist because his dad is racist and keeps punching him in the face. And then he stands up to his dad, but he's still racist. Do you remember that? That's nothing. That's actually nothing. That's nothing.
He had a moment of characters, 0.1% character development, maybe.
I'll be honest, the best storyline in this whole movie was the one gym teacher who likes the other gym teacher, and then they end up having sex in the boys' locker room.
But that's because there was a joke with a punchline.
Yeah. And also, I realized way too late in the movie, hey, that's Kim Cattrall.
Yeah. And then I was like, oh my God, it's Kim Cattrall's getting naked. I was seeing Kim Cattrall naked, and I was like, I was seeing Kim Cattrall naked, right? She gets naked a lot in Sex and the City.
Yeah. Fact.
But even that, I was like, because I do try and think about this stuff in terms of objectively with my political sensibilities aside. Mm-hmm. Is this actually a well-written, interesting, good film or not? And I was like, that storyline is such a great example because they dragged it out over such a long time. There should have been one scene, and the one scene, it should have gone like this. Mm-hmm. Oh, I really want to date that girl. Oh, yeah, Lassie. Oh, why do they call her Lassie? I don't know. Cut to 5 minutes later, she's going, oh, that's why they call her Lassie. Right. That should have been it. You shouldn't drag it out over so long because it's just not that funny because most of us have already guessed, oh, it's probably going to be that or something.
Although I did like the whole, did I like it? I found it interesting, what I inferred from the whole bit was he's been dating her, but she's not howling like a dog. But then, was it the pheromones of the clothes in the locker room that made her want to do the Porky? Is that what that was?
You may be making that more sciencey than it's meant to be. Maybe.
I don't know.
I think she just said, "Oh, the smell of it makes me horny," and then she made noises.
I think it was about that thing where raw pheromones, right? You remember that thing? There's this whole experiment where like, you know, they
Yeah,
get people to
people
wear
smell good.
T-shirts and then they smell them and, you know, rate like, because humans and how, because that's like a thing, you know?
Yeah.
And then this one guy gets disqualified because he wore like cologne or something. And they're like, you can't smell pheromones over CK1. You're out of this. You're out of this experiment.
There is a thing here which is like, I'm ashamed to admit this on the podcast.
Ooh,
but I feel like this is a good
dish.
place to do that. But I know it's not just me that feels this way. I've spoken to other people who feel the same way.
Yeah.
You know how the
boys' locker rooms make you feel sexy. I get it. Yeah, it's fine. You can admit that.
It's not far off that.
No,
it's not
really.
far off that. You know how the like classic stereotype of like a kind of like yucky teenage boy is Lynx/Axe body spray.
Sure. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You like the smell?
Smells really good.
It
smells really good. But no, here, let me defend this, right?
That stuff smells gross.
But you would think, and also based on the context of what it is and the kind of people who wear it, absolutely.
Yeah.
However, I feel like it is specifically designed to appeal to a certain kind of person.
Sure.
And it
works.
I regret bringing this up.
Hey, man, I get it. You know, I get it. Some things work. It's like, you know, you don't have to like Coldplay, but if you hear Yellow, you're like, I get it. You know, it's fine. It's all fine. It's all marketing and data points and lots and lots of consumer research that yield that a certain portion of people will smell Lynx Africa and feel a little bit sexy. It's fine.
And to all the guys out there who spend so much money on really expensive, really fancy designer cologne, let me tell you, you don't need to. You don't need to. Lynx Africa works every time. That's an exaggeration.
It works,
but it's like
70% of the time.
70% of the 72 to 3%. I think it's like, you know how they say that like smell is a really strong memory stimulant.
Go smell a crayon. You're gonna feel like you're 10 again. I promise.
So for me, as a teenage girl who went to an all-girls school, my only exposure to boys would have been very occasionally. And they would have all been absolutely decked head to toe in Lynx Africa. And that would have been a very exciting day for me. So maybe it's just that's the smell reminds me of that time, you know? Imagine being a teenage woman in the 80s and watching this film.
I can't imagine. And I don't want to imagine. And I will not imagine. But I will for science. And it feels bad.
It feels bad. It feels really bad. Let me tell you about the bit that made me feel really bad. One of many.
Yeah.
It's the bit where they're in the shower and there's lots of women in the shower. Lots of teenage girls in the shower.
Mm-hmm.
And there is about 5 women who all have very, very slim bodies that they are observing and getting very hot over. And then another woman steps in front of the hole who has a much larger body.
Yeah.
And they are very upset about this, and he even says something really offensive to her, trying to get her to move out the way.
Yeah.
Because a teenage, slim female woman's body is good, and a teenage, less slim body is not good and deserves ridicule and hatred.
Yep.
That made me feel really bad. Because it's like so black and white.
Yep.
Slim women, we want you. Fat women, we don't want you.
And also, like that would mess somebody up. Well, who watched it? But if that really happened in real life, which this is commentary, so this not dissimilar things would happen. If somebody screams at you, "Get out of the way, fat ass," you're gonna. It's gonna have an impact. Sucks. That sucks. The whole thing sucks.
Yep. And it's just like the assumption. It's just that the automatic assumption as an audience member that you meant to know this woman is undesirable because she is in a larger body.
Yeah. Yuck.
So, in conclusion, I hated it.
Me too.
Thanks.
Me too.
I hate it.
I'm sorry that we had to watch this movie for the podcast and for science, but we did it for humanity as well. We should feel good about ourselves.
Yeah, we should. We
did it.
People throw around the word hero.
Exactly. Oh, they don't all wear capes. Well, you're right. Some of them.
I am, however, wearing a cape right now.
So am I, and I also feel very brave. But I also feel like I fight crime. I can fight crime as well.
Yeah. Fight crime, shoot lasers out my eyes.
Yeah.
Run really fast. What superpower would you have if you could choose a superpower?
Well, I'm glad you asked, and I've been waiting many years for you to ask me that. I don't know. Like, we just watched Incredibles 2 the other day,
Oh, I love Incredibles 2 so
Yeah,
much.
It's really good.
It's really good.
And I feel like of all of the different ones that they have, practically speaking, if I could like run faster or, teleport, fine. But I don't really want that. I kind of like the guy could like shooting portals, I could shoot a portal and then I go through that thing and there's another portal. I love that.
Yeah.
And that woman, she was all like, go, let me throw another portal at you. And I can save you from portals. What I'm saying is I want portal power.
Nice.
What about you?
Well, as you've identified, obviously, we'd all actually choose teleportation if we were given the choice. But let's take that off the table. If we're doing Incredibles rules...
Yes, we are.
Elastigirl, 100%.
Yeah,
I'd so be Elastigirl.
Yeah.
And, she's so cool. It's a cool power. And slamming body. And I can just say it because we just watch Porky, so it's fine. Should we go to the twist?
Let's twist this mother right now. Hey everybody, do you know what else is incredible? Is our social media platforms. If you're not already, we'd love you to follow us at Plot Twisters Pod on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. So how do we make a trash movie not a trash movie?
Okay, I have a few suggestions.
Fantastic, because I don't know if I have one. I'm over to you. Please and thank you.
Okay.
What do we do?
Here's what I would do to make this movie better.
Okay.
So, I think we can assume we're going to take out all the racism.
You think?
And all the offensive stuff. And let's assume. Let's go on. In terms of the actual script, if we could tinker the script to make it a bit more workable. So we know from previous episodes where we've talked about the sex films that we also need to have a good character development plot line underneath that actually makes sense. Somebody needs to learn a lesson, somebody needs to grow, somebody needs to get better in some way or another. And I think as much as I bashed on American Pie when we first talked about it, it does have character development. It had that.
I was just here. Sorry, in my head I was trying to think of, has there been a movie about a group of kids who all want to have sex? And I was like, oh yeah, that's literally the plot of American Pie.
Yeah.
They all have a pact. Let's have sex. Let's all have sex.
Yeah. And Fast Times at Ridgemont High is kind of...
Yeah, that's right.
Also similar, right? So in American Pie, they have character development. Things happen. There's still loads of shocking stuff in there. There's stuff which we don't like. But they do all grow. So that is the thing. I think if you're going to have an ensemble piece, if you're going to have, they've got, I think it's 5 main characters, which is fine. You can do that.
That's fine.
They all need to have their own storyline that makes sense to us in terms of they want something or they need something that they get or they don't get. And so this is I'm going to use this opportunity while we're talking about the film Porky to actually talk a little bit about actual screenwriting.
Great.
You basically, when you look at your character development, what we often talk about is the characters want and the characters need, and how they're not often the same thing.
Okay. And
how your character usually knows what they want, but they don't know what they need. And they don't necessarily get what they want, but they do get what they need. So you have a situation where, because a character thinks about what they want, so, just using this film as an example, let's say there's a teenage boy who really wants to have sex. You would think about, why does he want that? And it's like, well, hormones probably, but also, you know, because for young people, sex is seen as a rite of passage. It's seen as a marker of growing up. It's seen as if you are seen as desirable, therefore you have social, you know.
Do you know what I'm thinking about? And this is like, I was trying to think of an example, because this is the whole, what you just said about the like what they want versus what they need kind of a thing, right?
Yeah.
Tell me if you think I'm way off here, but do you remember in Forrest Gump, right? Do you remember Lieutenant Dan?
Yeah.
And his whole thing was like, every ancestor he's had died in battle, and he wants to do the same thing, and that's like the thing he's trying to do because his dad and his grandpa and his great grandpa all did it. And then Forrest Gump saves him, and he's all upset about it.
Yeah.
But then it turns out he actually is happy to be alive and learns to like love life and stuff. Yeah,
absolutely. So what he wants is to follow his ancestors and die in battle, but what he actually needs is to find a new appreciation for life and realize.
And he finds that on a shrimp boat.
Yeah,
because you ain't got no legs, Lieutenant Dan.
Mm-hmm.
He jumps off the boat.
So it's a very common one, and if you start looking for it in films, you'll find it all over the place. Which is like, because films where you want something and you get it, it's not very rewarding to watch if that's the protagonist or the hero character, because what essentially needs to happen is this person needs to be challenged, and they need to reassess their own goals. And then find out that actually, so you know, again, if we're thinking about this character, they really want to have sex. That's a straightforward thing. I want to have sex. But what you actually want really underneath that is, I want to be validated by my peers, or I want to feel like a man, or I want to feel desirable, or I want some sort of social status, because that's what it represents, and particularly in film, that's what it represents. So you could say that a very straightforward, easy need for a character would be, well, they actually, what they need is to accept themselves better, because if they were able to accept themselves, they wouldn't have so much desperate hunger for validation from others, which so commonly comes across as a desire for validation from, you know, people that you're all sexually interested in. So if there was some way in which we could say, and I sound so, this is so left wing of me, be like, oh, instead of being, you know, horny towards women, why don't you just accept yourself? But I think that could be a really good, interesting film, which I don't know if I've seen it. I'm sure it exists, but you know, of a young man who is very interested in women and wants to have sex with women and wants to look like a man to his friends and be cool and get all the chicks and stuff, but actually goes, I'm actually not very comfortable with myself.
Yes.
And if I was able to be more comfortable with myself, then I'd probably feel better.
Yeah, why not? Maybe this person is a person who is in a group of friends. It's a bunch of dudes, and they're all like, peer pressuring him into wanting to have the sex, because that's what everybody does before your senior year, like in American Pie. And he thinks he's into it because everybody else is into it, and you know, that's like the dude thing to do. I'm not saying that he's the guy from American Pie, but maybe they are also on a lacrosse team or whatever. But then, and they travel all this way to this Porky's place because that's where everybody does it. But then through it, he realizes that he's asexual. And is able to say that to his friends after some, you know, big run-in with Porky, and then they hopefully accept him. That's what I'd like at the end. You know, maybe maybe somebody punches him because they're like, you know, that's you suck, and then they fight a little bit, and then they're like, actually, I love you, and you can be who you are. That's fine. Yeah.
There's a great bit, I think it is again in American Pie, where they say something like, we don't talk about anything other than sex.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think that's such a good point. It's like, so many relationships on screen, and I'm sure in real life, are so focused around sex and around sexualizing things. It's like, well, what do you actually have in common? What are you actually getting from each other? Because this goes away. It loses its shine, you know, like it's the classic thing of, oh, we should have sex before we go to college or whatever. It's like, okay, well, now you're in college and you've done it, and now you need to get a job and stuff. So,
exactly.
So like, who are you as a person? And it's obviously a big expectation to put on young people, but I think you're right. If there was maybe one character who took the angle of being like, actually, I'm not interested in sex. Maybe there was one character who was like, I'm only so interested in sex because I'm receiving a lot of pressure from my parents to be interested in it. If there was another character who was like, I'm super interested in it because I'm actually kind of dealing with some sort of like trauma around that. You know, there's so many reasons why. But it's I think, this is what really bothers me. It's all the assumptions. It's the assumption that all teenage boys are the same for the same reason. They just naturally are like that, which is so problematic. It's the assumption that all women, you know, they're all going to love it if they find out that men have been looking at them shower because it's just funny. Like, that's fine. It's the assumption that, like, fat women aren't attractive and all these things, which are just, it's just so ingrained into society. I'm going off on one again. It's just really annoying. But you know what I mean? Yes. You should make a film which isn't that.
Yes, a movie where, but what would be great is if it was like, painted as it's going to be exactly the way that Porky's was, you know? Where it gives every indication that this is like a throwback, romp, naughty, nasty, you know, bunch of bros trying to bro it up sex-wise, but then it inverts that, you know? Because, like you said, the cover of this movie is pretty obvious what this movie is about, right? And what if it was the same, but actually it subverted that completely, you know, and tricked everyone. So all these guilty pleasure people are like, ooh, Porky's again. Yeah. And then it's not that. And then it's actually entrapment, and everyone who's there, you can arrest them all. What you could do, actually, to be fair, put a throwback. We're playing One Night Only Porky's at the you know, cinema, right, at the duplex or whatever. Only true fans are allowed to come, and then they all come and see the movie, and you go like, take your photo with Porky at the entrance of the movie for fun. You get a commemorative photo, but actually the police are there and they run all those photos through the database, and that's where they find all the people they're supposed to have arrested because they've been looking for them because they're all creeps probably. So
what you're saying is, we the left should stop trying to convince right wingers with our
liberal
political
agenda
and our woke activists,
bunch of
you know, media and our think pieces, and instead lure them into a trap.
Yes.
And get them all arrested.
Then give them exactly what they deserve. Right? Yeah. Listen, you can catch some bees with honey and some bees with sugar and some bees. You know that thing when they're like, catch more flies with honey than with vinegar, you know? My grandma used to always say, catch more flies with honey than vinegar. Well, yeah, it might be true, but like, try vinegar too. Because some flies might like vinegar too. Do we need to rate the movie? We don't need to rate this movie. We know what we're going to rate it, right? It's a 5, obviously. It's a 4. It's a 4.5. It's a 4.5. It's a 4.5. It's not perfect. It's 4. We take it to a 4. Everyone had a good time, but there was some 3.5 because some things were different for different. 3 because in all of the bad stuff. 2. We could do a 1 because it has some redeeming. Because some parts of it were fine, and you know you need to know about the. Yeah. I hear you. Maybe it's 0. 0?
Yeah.
That was shtick, by the way. It's a 0 for sure. This movie is bad, and you should feel bad if you like it.
You know what the most disappointing thing about this is?
What?
Despite how it may appear, I do actually have quite a crude sense of humor at times.
Yeah.
And I want to laugh at this stuff. I want to watch a silly sex movie with butts in that I can find funny. And I never get to. Yeah. What about me?
We're the crude, butts-filled, romps for us lefty
sensitive
sensitive people. Come on. Where's the reverse Porkies for us? The regular people. That's what we need. Reverse Porkies.
Sick grop. You said reverse Porkies.
Great. That's really good. That's really
sick
good.
Grop.
Scrop. Pork. I was gonna say pork hard, porkies, pork hard,
pork long,
pork difficult, right?
Daily.
Oh, vegan.
Too pork, too furious.
Veganese, vegan pork, vegan sausages.
Vegan porkies.
Vegan porkies. Where's the vegan porkies?
Porkies.
Yeah.
No, that's a different thing. Look, I've said this before. I think my big flaw in life is that I'm an optimist because I always hope that things are going to be better than they are. And I'm so consistently disappointed. I'm not angry with this film. I'm just disappointed.
You're like a mom. Yeah. I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed.
I expected better from this film.
Yeah. You blew it, Porkies. You flippin' blew it. Could have been great, but you blew it.
You had a chance with me, and you blew it.
You only get one chance with Emma, okay? And you blew it.
You blew it.
You blew it. You should feel so bad. Go hit the showers. Hang your head in shame so nobody can tell if it's shower water or tears. Porkies, have a cry, have a think. Get your pork together, all right? And then have a good night's rest. A nutritious but slightly indulgent meal because, you've earned it. And then when you wake up tomorrow, I want you to write down a list of 10 things you're going to do differently to make your life better. Starting with number 1, stop being so bad. The end. Goodbye, Porkies. I'll never see you again. This is it. We're breaking up.
I'm going to get you a t-shirt with "Get Your Pork Together" on it. Thank you for listening to this episode of Plot Twisters.
Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts if you have the time.
We'll see you next pork.
Porky. Yeah. That's all, folks.